Hi, I'm Jim Nibbelink. I'm first-elect and head of the delegation for Desert Southwest 2016 and 2019 General Conference delegation. Bishop Bob has asked members of the delegation to briefly describe the three main plans that are going to come forward as legislation in St. Louis next February to the 2019 Special General Conference. I'm going to talk to you about the traditionalist plan, but all of three of us that are presenting are not giving an endorsement to the plans that we're talking about or speculating on any of the outcomes should one of these plans be adopted. So, features of the traditionalist plan. As I said, it's one of the three main possibilities to be considered by the Special General Conference. It's essentially a plan that reinforces and extends current limitations and prohibitions regarding how the United Methodist Church relates to LGBTQ persons. Given the way that legislation is handled at general conferences, it is likely that any or all of the plans will be amended, perhaps extensively. There's no guarantee that any plan as presented will be adopted. Some of the features of the traditionalist plan include: it broadens the definition of self-avowed practicing homosexual to include anyone living in a same-sex marriage, domestic partnership, or civil union, or who publicly states that he or she is homosexual. Existence of a marriage license would be viewed as such a public statement. The plan sets minimum penalties and quicker expulsion after conviction of a pastor of violations. For example, a pastor convicted of performing a same-sex marriage or celebrating a same-sex union would face a mandatory penalty of a 1-year suspension without pay for the first offense and revocation of his or her credentials for any subsequent offense. It would require bishops and annual conferences to certify that they would uphold, enforce, and maintain disciplinary standards on LGBTQ marriage and ordination. Bishops who could not do so would not be eligible for compensation or for expenses after 2021 and would be urged to join a different self-governing church. The plan prevents bishops from consecrating, ordaining, or commissioning a self-avowed homosexual, even if that person had been elected or approved by the relevant jurisdictional conference or clergy session of an annual conference. That petition does not include the term practicing as part of the ban. Reviews of the status of bishops who could not certify that they would uphold the discipline through a newly created Council of Bishops Council Relations Committee would take possible action. The plan handles complaints against bishops under the new provisions set out in a constitutional amendment that was ratified last May and aimed at requiring the Council of Bishops to hold its members accountable. Among the possible penalties are involuntary retirement or involuntary leave for such a bishop. The plan sets a strict timeline for new provisions for handling complaints and making dismissal of complaints more difficult. The plan allows local churches that disagree with a conference decision not to enforce the discipline to remain with the United Methodist Church. It allows local churches in a conference that plans to enforce the bans to join an autonomous, affiliated, or concordant church if they disagree with the decision of their conference. Groups of 50 or more churches could even form new denominations. This is known as the gracious exit provision. This plan encourages clergy who could not maintain the ban on LGBTQ marriage and ordination to leave the denomination and join affiliated churches. It requires any just resolution of a complaint to contain a commitment not to repeat the offense. The plan requires every annual conference to certify that they would maintain the bans, and conferences that did not would be encouraged to form self-governing bodies. This plan continues the current general agencies that could negotiate their services with churches and conferences even if they leave the denomination. This plan finally requires that the Conference Board of Ordained Ministry would conduct an examination to ascertain whether a candidate was a practicing homosexual, including looking at information on social media. Such a candidate may not be recommended for ordination or for commissioning. The Board of Ministry must certify that all recommended candidates satisfy disciplinary requirements concerning sexuality and marriage. Additionally, all board members must certify that they satisfy these requirements as well. This traditionalist plan would require at least 18 changes to the Book of Discipline, with similar to those altering multiple paragraphs. The Judicial Council is currently meeting late October and will rule on whether or not all of the provisions of this plan appear to be constitutional. That's a summary for the traditionalist plan. Thank you.